The MCU did not introduce Dr. Doom when Robert Downey Jr. appeared in a green cloak. It introduced him years earlier, when Tony Stark decided the Avengers were no longer enough to protect the planet. That decision gave us Ultron, destroyed Sokovia, divided the team, and exposed the belief Tony spent his entire life trying to control. If the world was going to survive, someone smarter than everyone else had to take command. That is not simply one of Tony Stark's flaws, it is the foundation of Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom does not see himself as a villain. He sees war, corruption, and human failure, then concludes that freedom is the problem. His answer is to place the world beneath the authority of the one person intelligent enough to manage it. Tony reaches the same conclusion in Avengers Age of Ultron. He does not want a throne, but he wants a planetary defense system designed by him, controlled by him, and capable of acting before anyone else understands the threat. That is where the connection begins. Not with Robert Downey Jr.'s face, but with Tony Stark's response to fear. Whenever Tony feels safe, he can cooperate. Whenever he becomes terrified, he stops trusting people and starts building something capable of replacing them. The Iron Legion replaces soldiers. Ultron is supposed to replace the Avengers. EDITH gives one person control over a global weapons network. Even Tony's plan in Avengers Endgame depends on solving a problem no one else can solve and carrying the answer into battle himself. Ultron is the clearest warning. Wanda shows Tony the Avengers dead, and he immediately begins constructing a system that can prevent the nightmare. He does not take the decision to the entire team because discussion creates delay, disagreement, and variables he cannot control. He moves forward because he believes the danger is too urgent and his answer is too important to require permission. Ultron pushes Tony's logic to its final conclusion. If humanity creates war, then humanity must be removed. If the Avengers attract greater threats, then the Avengers must disappear. The machine becomes monstrous, but its central assumption begins with Tony. Peace can be engineered from above by an intelligence that knows better than the people being protected. Dr. Doom reaches the same point without artificial intelligence. His version of world peace has one government, one final authority, and one mind deciding what humanity is allowed to become. Tony recognizes the horror of that logic after Ultron escapes. Victor recognizes the same logic and calls it efficient. Captain America Civil War proves Tony never completely escapes this instinct. After Sokovia, he supports the Sokovia Accords because he needs a structure capable of preventing another disaster. Then he learns what happened to his parents, and the rules vanish the moment they conflict with his pain. Tony attacks Bucky and fights Steve Rogers, enforcing his personal judgment with technology no one in the room can stop. Tony eventually accepts that he was wrong and repairs relationships he nearly destroyed. Dr. Doom cannot do that because admitting a mistake would threaten Victor's belief in his own superiority. Tony's greatest strength is not his genius. It is surviving the discovery that his genius failed. That difference comes from the people around him. Pepper Potts gives him somewhere to return. James Rhodes tells him the truth when others are afraid to challenge him. Steve Rogers forces him to confront the limits of his worldview. Peter Parker and Morgan Stark teach him to value another person's future above his certainty. They do what no Stark technology can do. They interrupt him, force him to reconsider, and give him a reason to return. Remove them, but keep the intellect, pride, armor, fear, and need for control. What does that create? Not a darker Iron Man. It creates Dr. Doom. Now look at their machines. Tony builds his first Iron Man armor while imprisoned and physically broken. Its rough, unreadable faceplate gives him a new identity created from metal and trauma. Victor's Doom mask serves the same purpose. The wounded man disappears and the invincible figure takes his place. Tony later develops remote-controlled armor and the Iron Legion. Victor fills Latveria with Doombots that copy his appearance, use his voice, and execute his commands. An enemy can fight Dr. Doom for an entire battle and discover that Victor was never physically present. Tony distributes protection through machines while Victor distributes authority. Both express the same desire, one mind extending itself into an army. Time travel creates another connection. Bruce Banner struggles to stabilize the Avengers plan while Tony discovers a reliable route through time. Victor's time platform is one of his defining inventions in Marvel Comics. Both men turn history into a system they can enter, manipulate, and control. Tony begins with a crude metal face, progresses to mechanical extensions of himself, attempts to automate world peace, and finishes by mastering time. That is not the normal development of an armored superhero. It is the technological profile of Dr. Doom built across an entire saga before Victor's name is spoken. Robert Downey Jr.'s return forces us to reconsider why Marvel developed Tony along that path. Marvel has identified his new character as Victor Von Doom, and the directors have made it clear that the familiar appearance has an explanation inside Avengers Doomsday. The audience is not being asked to forget Tony Stark. His face is evidence. Tony's comic book history provides the mechanism the MCU needs. Howard Stark and Maria Stark are not his biological parents. Their natural son is Arno Stark, whose existence is concealed after an alien experiment leaves him dependent on medical support. Tony is adopted, publicly raised as the Stark heir, and allowed to believe the entire family history belongs to him by blood. Tony Stark does not have to be the name this child was born with. His identity can begin with adoption and hidden records created before he could remember anything. Howard had the SHIELD connections and government access required to protect that secret. A child removed from Latveria could enter Howard Stark's world, receive a new identity, and grow up beyond suspicion. His recorded message then changes meaning. Howard calls Tony his greatest creation because he constructed the life surrounding him. He provided the name, resources, education, and access that transformed an unidentified child into Iron Man. Howard explains how the identity was protected, but He Who Remains explains why it was changed. The Time Variance Authority preserved one approved sacred timeline by destroying every threatening alternative. Entire realities disappeared because they contained people, choices, and futures He Who Remains refused to tolerate. He decided which versions of people were permitted to exist. Victor Von Doom is the worst possible variable inside that system. He combines Tony Stark's scientific reach, Doctor Strange's mystical knowledge, and a conqueror's ambition. He builds time machines, crosses dimensions, and challenges cosmic beings. A ruler hiding at the end of time cannot allow the complete Doctor Doom to exist. Erasing Doom variants only repeats the problem across endless branches. Changing Victor's origin removes it at the source. Take away Latveria, magic, and his claim to a kingdom. Develop his intellect through engineering instead of sorcery, and give him wealth instead of political resentment. The dangerous mind remains, but its direction changes. Victor does not become less capable. He becomes Tony Stark. Instead of creating Doom's armor in Latveria, he builds the Mark I inside a cave. Instead of ruling a country, he inherits Stark Industries. Instead of creating Doombots, he develops the Iron Legion. Instead of using time travel to conquer history, he uses it to restore the people Thanos erased. The plan works so completely that Tony dies defending the reality constructed to contain him. He Who Remains does not need to defeat Doctor Doom because Tony defeats that destiny throughout his life. His final choice is the strongest rejection of Victor's philosophy. Tony gains the power to decide the fate of the universe, uses it once, and gives his own life instead of keeping that power. Wanda's vision shows the other outcomes. Tony sees the Avengers dead while he survives beside Captain America's shattered shield. The image looks like a world shaped by Doctor Doom. The team is gone, the armored genius remains, and no one can challenge what he decides next. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness later connects mental experiences to alternate lives. Wanda does not need to invent Tony's nightmare. She only needs to uncover a life already present beyond his reality, where Tony stopped trusting and accepted that the world belonged to the person intelligent enough to control it. Tony spends the rest of his life preventing that man from existing. Ultron moves him toward that outcome. Civil War nearly traps him inside it. Avengers Endgame takes him as far away from it as possible. The man capable of becoming Doctor Doom chooses to die as Iron Man. Doctor Doom wearing Tony Stark's face reveals the enemy Tony defeated internally before the Avengers faced him physically. Peter Parker will see his mentor, Rhodey will see his closest friend, and Pepper Potts will see the husband who died in front of her. The surviving heroes will see the man who restored the universe, but behind that face is someone who considers Tony's sacrifice his final mistake. Doctor Doom only needs the Avengers to hesitate. Tony's face represents the man who restored half the universe, and Doom can use that emotional debt as a weapon. He can claim his name and country were stolen, and his life as Tony Stark was engineered to protect a timeline built by the man who feared him. Doom can then argue that the universe is broken because its heroes choose personal desire over cosmic order. Steve Rogers rewrites his future, Wanda Maximoff rewrites a town, Doctor Strange risks reality, and Tony Stark breaks time. Doom sees proof that the multiverse cannot survive while individuals remain free to reshape it. Avengers Secret Wars gives him the final answer. In Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom takes the remains of destroyed realities and combines them into Battleworld. Life continues, but only inside a world organized around Doom's authority. It is Tony's planetary armor plan taken to its ultimate conclusion. One system, one protector, one ruler, and no uncertainty left beyond his control. The conflict is not Iron Man fighting Doctor Doom. It is Tony's final decision against the decision Victor makes when given the same problem. Tony allows the universe to continue without him. Doctor Doom saves existence by making himself indispensable to it. Marvel did not select Tony Stark's face because the two characters look good in similar armor. It selected that face because the Iron Man story already contains Victor's mind, methods, temptations, and potential. Tony Stark is what happens when that potential is surrounded by people who teach it restraint. Doctor Doom is what happens when nothing remains powerful enough to tell him no. When Doctor Doom removes his mask in Avengers Doomsday, the real revelation will not be that Tony Stark survived. It will be that Iron Man spent his entire life defeating the person wearing his face now. Will the Avengers see Victor as a corruption of Tony's legacy, or will Doctor Doom convince them that Tony Stark was the false identity all along? Leave your answer in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for the next MCU breakdown.